moment, how do you take care of yourself?
I haven't spoken in a long time, so I was just listening to you guys, and there's also some things that I just wanted to make sure that I was able to have the floor. But just going back to your question really quick about like having art in schools, I think it's another important topic to touch on is that people within their families acknowledge their creatives and embrace their creatives, because I know that sometimes when you are creative, you don't get that support from your family, or they just kind of, push you away. So not only just schools do that, but families do that as well. And I just think that, it's just really important for us to embrace creativity, because, your student or your child is not always, a book reader, whatever. One of my AP teachers, he had us draw all of the, like the Renaissance, and he had us like literally draw that. And it helped me a lot to pass my tests and stuff like that. As far as your question now about where do I draw inspiration from, I draw a lot of inspiration from my community, and I'm really big on energy. So just a lot of, especially in the Black community, our culture, I feel a lot of pain, and I create a lot of beautiful things from feeling, other people's pain or their anxieties or just things that they may be struggling with. Like, so I just feel like my creativity kind of comes in and just kind of like gives people a cushion, such as, the platform that I offer. It gives people hope, and it gives people kind of like I can do this. It gives them, that hope and that push and that drive. So that's really where a lot of my inspiration comes from, is just what's going on around me. And I really work off of that. I work off of that energy to create some of my best pieces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really appreciate that, Asia. One of the things I really appreciate about it is, one, what's going, like, I feel like there is this symbiotic relationship between artists and their like active environment. Like, I feel like artists and comedians are the truth tellers, like they are holding a mirror up to the world and saying, this is like who you are. Like, I didn't make this up. I am showing you who you are. Stephanie Ray said, yes, let's please talk about self-care. So self-care, and what is it that inspires you?
Well, I think for me, having to take care of myself, I have to give myself a set schedule. So I do like sculpture full time, and I have to set I guess an hour or two in the morning or an hour or two at night for me to actually take care of myself, whether that be, make myself a healthy smoothie, or give myself a facial, or meditate, or take a nap, or, take the time to listen to my body instead of forcing my body to do something that it doesn't want to do. And I think that's the main thing I've been learning this year, is to just listen to my body. If my body doesn't, if my body's feeling sluggish, maybe take a break from what I'm doing, or, eat something healthy, or it's just really about listening to your body in the moment and being okay with listening to your body. And for what inspires me right now is, for my work, it's just Black people in general, our features, and how we are and how we naturally are and who we want to be, instead of conforming to societal standards of who we should be and who we should look like and how we should act. So yeah, my work is I just take features from other people of color, Black people, and mesh them all, collage them in a sculpture in a way. And yeah.
Ty, correct me if I'm wrong. Help me out here. Help to establish, or you're a part of the first Black improv group?
We're not the first. We were definitely the first in Baltimore, and probably the Mid-Atlantic region. So Casually Dope. We formed because there was only like a few people of color, and the person that kind of Christopher Jones, the one who had the initial idea, it was like almost out of frustration, which is where I feel like a lot of Black art comes from, right? It's like, it's a frustration from some type of lack, and it's like, let's do something about it. And so we got together, and it's funny that Black people, I think improv is more popular now, but at first it wasn't, because we're such natural improvisers, whether it be like from the comedic theater standpoint or just like life, like we have to constantly adjust like as a survival mechanism. So improv is like a part of who we are. So like teaching improv is wonderful, but teaching improv to Black kids is like a treat. Like one of my things that I love is showing kids like this is us too. Because like I love Blackness, and one of the things I love about Blackness is how expansive it is. Like it's not just one thing. Like people try to corral it to this one thing, but Blackness is so, we do everything. Like there's nothing we don't touch, and
Right.
anything we touch we make it like really really special. Like Casually Dope, it's like, oh, I see improv, but then when you see us, it's like, wait, y'all did something different. And that's what I love. Like I think it's like this excellence, and it's just the style, it's like
Yeah.
the thing we put that little stank on it that nobody else can do.
Mhm.
And I love taking that to everywhere. So what inspires me is that. And then also there's this Baldwin quote about like the space in which I fit won't exist until I create it. And I feel like that's important to me, like just like in being a Black person that's been in I'm an Army brat, so I've lived in spaces where I was like, I lived in Maine, so I've been people's first Black person, so
Wow.
like being in that space, and then just being queer, being gender queer, and really wanting to see more of myself. And instead of, I was looking around like, damn, I really don't see myself. And I'm like, maybe I have to be the person that does that. Like maybe I have to be the person that stands up and says, this is who I am fully. And I've been that. And so that's what like keeps me going. I love who I am, and I want other people to love who they are. And so
Mhm.
I feel like if you like some people like sneak in, I don't like to sneak in my spaces. I like to kick the door in, let the fam in, like when you used to get in the club and like let the back door in and be like, we in here. That's how I like to open up spaces. Like, yo, hey, we here too. So like now improv is like, y'all, we here too. So that's what inspires me, opening the back door to the club and letting all my family in so we can, put the stanky leg on them.
But it's thank you, Larry. The ways in which your race or your culture shows up in your art, and speak and connect that to why Black artists matter.
So my work definitely talks about self-love of ourselves, just like on like a whole under a whole umbrella. It talks about ourselves and self-love and how we come and how we are. But within that, I also channel that through different parts of our culture. So the first one you talked about is grill culture, and talking about how grills is one of the many things that people stereotype about us, where they see somebody wearing grills and they're just like, oh my God, there are all these negative things because it's a Black person wearing grills, when in actuality, grills are just teeth jewelry. And we don't think about that. Just like how I wear earrings every day, I wear my glasses, it's just jewelry, but in your mouth. And I wanted to normalize these things about our culture and normalize them for our culture and outside of our culture as well. And then I also talk about the hair culture, but I also talk about that in a different form. So currently I'm making these series of braided sculptures with different hairstyles that I hand braid myself, and my mom has helped me with like one or two of them because my hands been cramping. But yeah, I talk about hairstyles and different types of hairstyles. I also channel that through baldness and bald women as well, because I also talk about my experiences of bald women and why I cut my hair, and going against the stereotypes of what it means to have hair as a Black woman, whether that be something that is for you or not. You should be accepted either way. So I think with that being said, I think all of that is important, because I think it's important for us to see that as a people, for our children to see that as children, and to see it young. Because I know there are moments where I was young and I saw, the girls with lighter skin and long hair, and I was like, oh my God, why do I not look like that? You know what I mean? And it takes a toll on a lot of Black girls, especially. Yes, Black men as well, but I think when it comes to looks and things, I'm just speaking from my experience, obviously. It takes a toll on you. And I think it's just important for us to understand that we are beautiful how we are, and it's okay to look how you are. That's okay. and there's nothing wrong with it. And I think it's important for people outside of our culture to see Black culture, Black art, to understand, that we are humans, we are normal. It's okay to be like this. We don't have to fit to your standards of beauty in order to be seen as beautiful. So I know that was like a whole long.
No, it was everything it needed to be. It was everything it needed to be, and I really appreciate the part that you talked about in terms of the aesthetic and the importance of the aesthetic. I think sometimes people connect it with a sense of vanity that that they find frivolous. But one of the things that I've learned in my academic research with focusing on mothers and daughters and that mother-daughter relationship, one of the ways in which Black women transmit culture is through their adornment, right? Mothers would say, I wear my hair like this because, not just because it's fashionable or it's hip or it's whatever, blah, blah, but I wear my hair like this because, and that how they wear their hair might be a transmission of culture and or a demonstration of self-love. So I think that is like really amazing. Someone asked about where they could find your work, and I put a link to your website. Christy Applegate, Summer Journey, I love your braid work.
Thank you.
So that's amazing. Asia, I really want you to talk about the Trap House, because I have a fascination with the ways in which there's a theory called like ratchet theory, and ratchetness as a form of protest, right? Like protests are supposed to disrupt. They're supposed to be different. They're not silent. They're not conservative. They're not. And I don't necessarily feel or think that that's necessarily like your aim, but there is something in the appreciation of not just Black art, because I think when we think of appreciating Black art, a lot of times we go to whatever is refined or conservative and don't really celebrate things like Trap House art. So can you talk about that work a bit?
Sure. The Art Trap House. So trap is actually an acronym for taking real art places. And so, but we wanted to kind of, delve into the culture of just Black art and what does it look like now? Because I know that I started out like I was born in '92, so I grew up on like a lot of '90s cartoons and stuff like that. So I was painting what I knew, and I feel like that's what every other Black person did. It's like they painted what they knew, and I wanted to make an environment that kind of cultivated those people, that brought that type of vibe together. And I really wanted to just like put this showcase on for, like I keep saying, I feel like I'm like repetitive with it, but like these people literally feel like they can't get out of their neighborhood. Their parents don't appreciate their art, and so that's why I wanted to, create this show, was just to, embrace where you come from, embrace who you are, and embrace the entire community. Everybody is not exactly ratchet or in other words, maybe ghetto or whatever. Like, but I just feel like this is just a festival that embraces culture, and not only Black culture, but Mexican culture, Hispanic culture, and lots of different people who may have been like ostracized or just kind of pushed to the wayside. I wanted you to be able to come into my home, and then we treat you with the respect that you deserve, and just allow other people to come in and also pay their respects to you as well. Whatever it is that you do, dancing, singing, drawing, painting, designing, sculpting, jewelry making, comedy, so on and so forth. Like this is just like a huge talent show. So yeah.
I haven't been focusing on too much of trying to reflect, the pandemic right now through my art. you know, I have anxiety, so instead of me
Listen.
focusing on it through my art, I just try to, you know, draw something else. I continue to focus on painting Black women, you know, and Black men. If anything, the only thing I've drawn that really reflected what's going on was probably like, you know, my sister and my nephew walking down the street with mask on. That's all I drew as a sketch to really show what's going on right now. But for me, my art is, you know, it's a way to get away. So I continue to paint, you know, women with, you know, big noses, brown skin, big lips, big full hair, you know, things of that nature. That's what keeps me going pretty much. And, you know, like I said, most of my artwork just focuses on Black people. I didn't get to see that a lot when I was growing up, you know, from my art teachers. They were primarily Caucasian. So I have to paint that myself and teach my students that, you know, there are various artists, no matter what color, you know, not just white or European, you know. So yeah.